In California, the governor has now announced that we are in a state of lockdown. Gavin Newsom on Thursday night ordered 40 million residents to stay home except for essential trips, extending similar restrictions statewide Bay Area counties have previously enacted. One of the serious questions about this particularly is, number one, whether it's effective. Number two, whether it is designed to achieve the goals that they say it's designed to achieve, meaning how can you lock people down this long? And the answer is it's going to be very, very difficult to lock people down this long. The stricter the lockdown, the less time it can last. It's one thing to tell people, as I said yesterday about diets, it's one thing to tell people for the foreseeable future, no cookies. It's another thing to tell people for the foreseeable future, no food, right? Like that's just not something that people are going to be able to outlast for a very long time. Here's Gavin Newsom, our Ken doll of a governor, announcing that it's time to shelter in place in the state of California.
A number of days ago, there were 6 Bay Area counties that led with stay-at-home orders. Now, as I speak, some 21.3 million Californians reside in a community, in a city and or county that have similar orders. A state as large as ours, a nation state, is many parts, but at the end of the day, we're one body. There's a mutuality and there's a recognition of our interdependence that requires of this moment that we direct a statewide order for people to stay at home. That directive goes into force and effect this evening, and we are confident that the people of the state of California will abide by it.
Okay, so we will see how long people abide by it, because you cannot tell people interminably to stay in their homes again, especially as the economy dies and these jobs do not come back. It's very easy for the government to say we're going to freeze everything in place. None of these jobs will die. That is just not true. These are major systemic changes taking place throughout our economy, and they have significant ramifications. Newsom said this is not a permanent state. It's a moment in time. Okay, well, then we need to know how long the moment's going to last or what your estimate of the moment is going to be. I was talking to panicked friends last night who have businesses in the state of California, and now those businesses simply will not run because nobody can go into the office. And this order, by the way, from Newsom is supposed to last until April 19th. Okay, a full month. How long do you think this is actually going to last? Now, we're now in the Star Wars scenario. As Princess Leia says, the more you tighten your grip, Vader, the more star systems, Tarkin, the more star systems will slip through your fingers, right? This is where we are. The more the government tightens its grip, the more there's going to be pushback against all of that, particularly as these losses mount. I mean, we're hearing that we may lose this week over 2 million jobs in the American economy. We are hearing estimates that the economy may contract up to 20% in Q2. 1/5 of the American economy, poof, disappears at the behest of the American government. So as I say, you want to make the case that we ought to do that? I need to hear a very strong case as to how this is going to prevent deaths. It is not enough to say that we're doing it to prevent deaths. I want to see the plan for preventing the deaths. I want to know how many beds you're creating, how many ventilators you're creating. I want to know how you plan to stop the flow of this virus when we all go back outside after a month and when half of us don't have jobs. Really, I mean, and by the way, all of the Republican relief efforts or Democratic relief efforts are not going to fix this problem. They're not. The best you can do at this point is provide floating loans to the banks to not call in their bridge loans to businesses, back the commercial paper window, for example. But at a certain point, people are not going to buy American bonds. And number two, what makes everybody think there's going to be a V-shaped recovery? The longer these businesses are out, the less a chance there is that these businesses ever go back in. If you spent your life savings to purchase a rib joint, and now you've been running that rib joint for 10 years, and the government just shut it down and shut down every restaurant across the country effectively, do you think that's coming back anytime soon and that a $1,000 a month check is going to suffice? It is not. And by the way, economics is real life. When people say, well, you're choosing the economy over real life, no. Economics is real life. It is people's jobs. It is people's livelihoods. It is how people live. It is the suicidality rate. It is the sense of community. This is not to argue that we should be weighing the economy against human life. This is arguing that we should always take the tack that is most likely to preserve human life, and that would also include human quality of life. This is not an argument we should let everybody out right now. I've not made that argument anywhere in here. Instead, the argument I'm making is if you are going to do the most restrictive thing any American government has ever done in the history of the United States to the American people, right? We're not in wartime here, right? There's a virus. If you're going to do this unbelievably restrictive thing, you better damn well have a plan for how we come out of this and that it saved lives. Because if you just destroyed 20% of the American economy and sent the unemployment rate up to 15 or 20%, and you saved 0 lives in the process, then or there's a net loss of life because it turns out that poor people are more likely to get involved in the opioid epidemic and and people who have just lost their jobs are more likely to feel despair, and families are more likely to break apart, and all of this. And so you're going to put the net loss of life after all of this, then people are going to be asking some serious questions about whether this was in fact a smart move or whether this was not in fact a smart move. So you better damn well have a plan to increase medical capacity above all of the possible curves. Because if you don't, then Americans are not going to stand by this. They're just not going to stand by this. Facts don't care about your feelings, and it's a fact that The Ben Shapiro Show is the largest conservative podcast in the nation. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all of our content.